Morning everyone. We've got loads of seeds going out the door at the moment because everyone is buying them, and I thought we would just do a little video on top tips on sowing your seeds so you get the best germination out of them. First things first, the medium that you sow into. This by far is the best thing, and we've always used it here at the farm, and it's called vermiculite, which you might have heard of, you might not have heard of. This is foolproof for using. The vermiculite has really good moisture control, so it stays quite wet, like it can hold the moisture really well so stuff doesn't dry out so quickly. But also it doesn't stay waterlogged like it can do compost and seed compost, and it allows air to be around the seeds at all times, so that's, you know, again, not waterlogging it and giving it a really good chance of germinating. The other thing is that it's sterile, and it won't come with any like disease or anything in it as well, which is great for stopping things like damping off, which is like a fungus that can basically kill your seedlings. Once they start to come through and they look really great, you'll start to see actually at the bottom of them they can be a bit brown, and that's when those will die. So damping off, this really helps to reduce that because it's a sterile environment. Saying that though, because it is sterile, the one thing that I do here at the farm, which is something optional that you can do if you'd like to, is to actually put a little bit of chili focus, very diluted, when you're watering in the seeds once you've sown them, just to give it like a little bit of something, a little bit of nutrients. In general, once seeds do start to come through, they do actually have their own sort of food supply in the initial stages, so normally okay, but it just allows us to make sure that these seeds that do come through have as much as they can possibly get and can get off to a really strong start. So it's an option if you want to. It's very dilute. I think I use about a teaspoon, so 5 millilitres of chili focus to 8 litres of water, so very, very dilute. The other thing with the vermiculite is it's very light in texture. This is really good for making sure that when the seeds like push through, they're not just like bogged down under really heavy like medium, so they can actually push through quite happily and really get out there and be exposed to the sun, which is perfect. Another thing is that it's really good at maintaining temperature as well, so it can hold that like warmth quite well, which is perfect because chilies really don't like to be mucked around with like the temperature. They don't like the fluctuations, especially like the super hot varieties or the chillies kind of family. They really don't like to be mucked around. They can actually just like decide not to germinate fully if they feel like they're being mucked around. So it does hold the temperature quite well. Okay, now I'll actually show you about like sowing the actual seeds into the medium. Depending upon the variety you've bought, you get roughly around 10 seeds. I think some of the hotter varieties it's a little bit less, but it will say on your packet how many are actually in them. So I'll just demonstrate to you with, I've got Fatali at the moment actually. The medium, first of all, you can put them into pots, little pots, you know, that's absolutely fine. Whatever you've got, maybe seed trays if you've got quite a lot of seeds. Just make sure that whatever you're sort of sowing it into is clean, like as best as you can, so it's not been left in your shed and got cobwebs and everything else. Like it is actually cleaned out pretty well. Again, it just minimises the whole disease risk. So I would put in the vermiculite up until about quite near the top really of my pot. You don't want to sow the chili seeds too deep at all. So I do that, and I've got these soaking in some warm water just so like this is really hydrated, but you can obviously just water it in afterwards as well. So that's how full I would normally do it. And with the seeds, like because you don't have many, you really can just like gently sprinkle them on top. You want to make sure that they're sort of not overlapping, so if you have got any sort of chunks, just try and separate them out, but just have them quite spread out because you know you've got quite a large surface area for a very small amount of seeds. So that's cool, that's fine. And then I would just do a gentle layer of vermiculite over the top. Again, so like when they come out, they're kind of easily accessed at the sunlight quite quickly. So it doesn't need to be a thick layer of vermiculite, that's quite thin. So when you water it in, spray it here, but obviously you'll have whatever you've got to hand at home. Maybe you can use a water bottle with some holes pierced in the top of the lid, like small holes, so it comes out quite fine. But just making sure it's really watered in. If you notice that you see any seeds peeking through, then you obviously need to put a bit more vermiculite on top, because you don't want them exposed, but you don't want like a thick layer on top. Very, very importantly is labelling up your seeds. This is so important. Obviously here at the farm where we have thousands of seeds being sown all the time. So make sure you know what you've sown, have a label. You can literally just have your variety on it. I have the date because that's just for my own records. If that's something you want to do at home, then cool, perfect, but you don't have to. We have thermostatically controlled heater propagators. These also sit on these benches, which underneath, I can't show you right now, actually have heated cables which are on. So we can start ours really early, like at the start of January, maybe even the end of December, the year before. And it will always keep it like a stable temperature. We have these set to around 30 degrees, so that's like optimum. They normally sit at around 27 though, which is absolutely fine. Anywhere between 25 and 30 is like a good temperature, like really good temperature, especially for the hotter varieties. And just like another foolproof thing that we tend to do is I will bubble wrap these propagators as well, just to insulate them a little bit more against the really cold weather, because at the moment we're having like extremes of having a bit of snow, icy days, and then really sunny days, so it's a bit, you know, give and take with the weather. You probably won't have this at home, so the best things to do is to make sure that when you've got your pot of your chilli seeds, is putting them somewhere really sunny and somewhere where the temperature stays stable in your home. So maybe that's your kitchen, maybe that's your conservatory if that's heated throughout the winter. Just somewhere where it doesn't go from extremes throughout the day and overnight, just keeping it as stable as you can. With watering, it's something you kind of just need to gauge with them, but because the vermiculite is quite free draining, like it can just come out, and you will have put them in a pot which actually has holes in the bottom because you want the water to come out as well. You don't want to sit like boggy. When they're in here, so in the heater propagators, they can dry out quite quickly. So I'm watering these once a day, but at home it might not be the same sort of situation. It might be you could sort of go every couple of days, but just really watch your pots, like, and also just feel the top layer. They can be a bit misleading with looking wet, like the vermiculite, but actually it's not, it's dried out a bit. So you can't really go wrong with just giving it a little bit of water if you're a bit concerned, and it will drain through, obviously, if it is really wet. So these seedlings here were sown a few weeks ago, I think just under 2 weeks ago, and this is already what we've been able to produce. So some really healthy looking seedlings. Obviously ours are quite densely sown because we've got so many numbers to fulfill, and they're quite happily be around 100 in a cell, absolutely fine. As you can see, they look good, the green colour, they're not too pale as well, because obviously I do feed them, so they are getting some nutrients as well. They're popping up, you know, they've got that heat in here as well. So I'm really happy with a lot of these. There's some slower varieties in here, but as you can see, like, we've got several pots of the same variety and they've all come up roughly the same. That's just a variety specific thing. Some take longer, some don't. But yeah, this is what you could get in a couple of weeks. Really shouldn't take long to start seeing stuff to germinate, especially if you've got like that constant temperature in your house. It shouldn't be much longer than a week before you start noticing at least something coming up. So be patient, but it shouldn't be too long either. Hopefully this really helps, and that is just some general sowing tips. Definitely some good top tips from what we do here at the farm. If you do have any questions though, please feel free to contact us at thegrowing@southdevonchillifarm.co.uk email, and one of us growers here will answer your questions happily and help troubleshoot any problems that you have.